If you're familiar with the nervous system blueprint, you've probably opened it up, you've taken a look at it, and you start to read it like a textbook. And this is one of the most common mistakes that I see, mainly because what people are trying to do is try to put little pieces together to actually see if it sticks. But the reality is nothing sticks. And the reason why is because we're doing it wrong. And this is the missing piece that I'm going to talk about today. In short, this is what we need to do with the blueprint. It first starts off by taking the nervous system identifier quiz. And the reason why is because this quiz helps find out which one of two lanes are you in. Are you in hyperactive, which is wired, or are we in hypoactive, which is tired? And then what's really important about this is once we figure out are we hyperactive or hypoactive in our nervous system state, we want to go through the thoughts, traumas, and toxins sections to be able to identify which ones of those activities are most beneficial for our central nervous system. And here's the key. We only want to pick one or two, work on them for 2 to 4 weeks, and then retest on the quiz. This is what's going to give us the best productivity, the best understanding of our central nervous system and implementation of the tools over time. So let's talk about the nervous system identifier quiz. This is not just a generic quiz that I decided to put together or that I decided to say this is what I've seen in clinical practice. It takes all of this into consideration, yes, but it's also matched my clinical experience of managing thousands of nervous systems at this point and 10,000s of nervous system scans to then match that against peer-reviewed research to be able to help identify you across the screen which nervous system state are we in, hyperactive or hypoactive. And this is very important. When you take this quiz, it's going to give you a percentage of hyperactivity or hypoactivity. And what we need to do is we need to make sure that we actually screenshot our results. These results are not meant to save. They're not meant to get sent to your inbox. This is meant for you to take a screenshot of. That way you can actually manage it over time. So make sure you take a screenshot of it. That's all fun and dandy, but what about the actual framework? You see, our nervous system has to undergo 3 types of stressors at every point in time. I'm standing right now. I have the physical stress of gravity acting on my spine while I'm standing upright. So these 3 types of dysfunctions or stressors that our systems go through, it's physical stress, chemical stress, and emotional stress. Or what you can label that as is thoughts, traumas, and toxins. Thoughts would be like our emotional state, what we deal with, our work stress, our emotional trauma from childhood and stuff of growing up and things of this nature. Then we have the physical stress or the trauma, right? This is not the emotional trauma, but this is the trauma, meaning like you've had some form of physical trauma, you've gotten in a car accident, you fell off a horse, you've gotten in a go-kart accident. These are some common things that I see. And then we have toxins or the chemical load or chemical stress on our bodies. This is what's in our food. This is drinking coffee with minimal to no mold. This is stuff that's in the air, stuff that's in our water, stuff that's in our food. All this stuff is very important for us to be able to monitor. But ultimately, our system has to go through thoughts, traumas, and toxins every single day to be able to filter the stress out of our body to eliminate anything that's considered a threat. And this is what I see inside of the nervous system regulation space, is that people don't actually look at their nervous systems to determine what's correct and what's not. For example, in these thoughts, traumas, and toxins, there are certain things that we can do to help eliminate the stress load and increase the body's resiliency to stress. But here's what's interesting. We see cold plunge is very, very common nowadays. It seems to be very beneficial. Infrared saunas, fasting, all these different types of things within the biohacking industry. And what's interesting is people are doing this and it actually could leave them worse off than they started. And the reason why is because they're not titrating it or making it specific to their nervous system type. This is why it's very important for you to be able to determine what type of nervous system we actually have before we start implementing all these different things onto our system. So here's the 7-step method. The first thing we need to do is to take the nervous system quiz. This is the foundation of everything that we do because it's my clinical expertise matched against multiple peer-reviewed research studies. I believe there's 70 plus that I've matched against it. And this is what's going to give us a foundation of how your nervous system is right now, which lane is dominant, hyperactive and hypoactive, to then look at the rest of the protocol. Number two, in this quiz, it's going to allow us to be able to see our dominant lane. If you are hyperactive, then there are certain things you can do. If you're hypoactive, there's some things that we can do. And then there are universal nervous system regulation principles that we can implement regardless of whatever type of state we are in. Step three, we need to be able to identify what protocol we would like to start with, whether it's thoughts, traumas, or toxins. Feel free to look at all of them, but really go towards the one that you feel like you need to work on right now. And inside of your quiz, it can actually show you which ones you are better at. Is your nervous system better at managing physical stress? If that's the case, then start looking at emotional stress or chemical stress, or in other words, that would be thoughts and toxins before you move on to the physical stress. And the reason why is because your nervous system's already good at handling it. We want to start filling in the buckets that are empty. After you've picked two protocols for your specific nervous system type, step four is we want to be able to use the nervous system principles, the universal principles for your central nervous system as well. And the reason why is because implementing a universal principle is not going to be harmful to your system regardless of whatever we do or whenever we put it into your nervous system. Step five is probably going to be the hardest for most people, myself included. We need to run it for 2 to 4 weeks. Keep this nervous system routine consistent for 2 to 4 weeks, and then leads us to step six, which is to retest. And when you retest, what you should be able to see is that your numbers are actually increasing. You're finding that you're more resilient to nervous system stress within thoughts, traumas, or toxins because we've been implementing or adding good stress to it, which in turn is going to help filter out the bad stress. And then the last step is step seven. We need to be able to adjust and repeat. So what we would do then is we would look at our quiz results and we would be able to identify which ones we want to work on moving forward. What protocols do I want to start implementing? Let's say I started with holding breath work from the past 2 to 4 weeks. Now we can start adding breath work on top of the things that we've already been doing because our nervous system's now capable and it has the increased capacity to be able to handle it. Now for most people, this loop, the 7-step framework, is going to be very beneficial and they're going to be able to see a lot of results from it. But there are some people with more of a complicated history that they need more on a one-on-one approach. And this is why I offer nervous system regulation coaching, or also called clinical coaching, which is where I coach with you one-on-one with your particular nervous system based on the cases that I've seen. And I actually implement a framework for you specifically for your type of nervous system rather than just this overarching types of hyperactivity and hypoactivity. So what I would do is, if you're watching this and you've made it to the end, I want to offer this quiz for you as well. Be sure to check the link in the comments or the link in my bio, which is the nervous system identifier quiz. And it's going to be able to help you start identifying your type of nervous system. Note, it's not a personality quiz. It's nothing like that. The nervous system identifier quiz is simply there as a tool to help you know and understand your nervous system on a better level. That way, as you start to implement these things, we're actually able to start seeing results, but not in a general sense, results tailored specifically for you.